Good morning, and welcome to the Lone Star Weekly Business Hour. Your host, Rick Schissler, is a Silver Fox advisor who personally has over 40 years of experience as a serial entrepreneur. So sit back, pull out your pad and pencil, and get ready to take notes as we join Rick Schissler in his Lone Star Weekly Business Hour.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining this week on the Weekly Business Hour. We've got a great show lined up for you, and first, though, I want to thank our sponsors, the Silver Fox Advisors. They're our show sponsors. And if you feel a need for a business mentor or consultant, I consider and encourage you to go to www.silverfoxadvisors.org, or you can contact me direct at 713-647-3776. And don't forget, during the show or at any time, you can always email us if you have a question, a business question. I'll be glad to answer, or if one of our guests is well qualified, they can do as well. So don't forget, just email Rick at irlonestar.com or call into the station at 936-647-3776. Now, today's show, first of all, in the studio today, I appreciate it. We have Pete Koch joining us. Pete is the Post 305 commander for the Woodlands American Legion. He's going to visit with us a little bit about the American Legion. I think the American Legion is a group that maybe for the last generation or two has gotten a little bit forgotten about with all the emphasis on charities and the VA. So we're going to hear about the business of the American Legion. We also, at the bottom of the hour, I'm going to have some business tips and news. One of the things, probably no surprise to most of you, is the fact that wages are starting to show a little upward pressure of growth, but yet the rest of the economy kind of lags. So it's an interesting period, I think, that we're in for here in Montgomery County as well as the rest of the country. I also have some good business tips for you that I hope you'll be able to use in your business. And then our final segment, we'll have Margie Taylor. Margie is a lady that's been involved in the public relations communications business for a long time. She's known throughout the county, particularly if you've been involved in the nonprofit world. She has served in a communications marketing role for a number of leading nonprofits. And most recently, she opened her own business, Taylorized Public Relations. But Margie's going to call in and talk to us a little bit about public relations and small businesses. So we've got a jam-packed show set up for you, and I hope you'll stay with us throughout the hour. Before we get started, though, first I want to ask Dick, what's going on at Lone Star this week?
Tonight at 7 p.m. at the Owen Theater, they're going to have auditions for Fibber McGee and Molly. That's going to be tonight. More information can be found at theplayerstc.com or go to Facebook, look up the Players Theater Company. They have a old-time radio hour here on Lone Star Internet Radio every Sunday at 7 p.m. So if you want to be part of a live presentation at the Owen Theater and also be broadcasted live on irlonestar.com, get involved with the Players Theater Company old-time radio hour, Molly McGee, or Fibber McGee and Molly. That's tonight, 7 p.m. at the Owen Theater in downtown Conroe. So just visit theplayerstc.com or go to Facebook and look up Fibber McGee and Molly by the Players Theater Company.
I think Dick's showing his age a little bit, doesn't remember Fibber McGee and Molly. There I even hesitated a little bit, but I remember them as a young person listening to their programs. Before we get started, I also want to mention something about the business of Lone Star as being involved in community development show. Dick's working on 3 new shows. The possibility here in the next 30 days to add 3 additional programs, great programs, I think, to the program the program list. So I encourage you, if you haven't already done so, always keep in touch with the website. That's at www.irlonestar.com and check on the programs that are in, because we've got some new ones coming up, and they're great programs and things that you might want to listen to. Well, let's get started today. Pete, you've been sitting there, you've been patient. Pete Koch, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rick. Appreciate it. Basically, what I want to talk about is the old story about the American Legion, where everybody thinks it's a smoke-filled drinking bar and all that kind of stuff. And that was the old days when cigarettes were 10 cents a pack and your beer was 10 cents a bottle. It's no longer that way. The American Legion is actually a major business in this country. We have over 3 million members. They're all volunteers. And our national is our main parent business, basically, if you want to use that term. And then we have districts, we have divisions, and we have posts. Each one of our posts, there's over 13,000 of them in the Americas and overseas. And each one of them is a small business. It's operated like a small business. We keep track of the finances, the whole works. We are a nonprofit, nonpartisan business. And we try and help all of our vets that we can get a hold of. one of the things about our vets, so our members are veterans of conflicts, if you want to call it that. They don't call it war anymore; they call it a conflict. So, ever since Korea, I think World War II was our last war. Anyway, all of our vets have to see an active duty during a conflict time, whereas the VFW, they take all vets, which is a good organization. We right now in the Post 305 in the Woodlands have 386 members, and there's a lot more out there to reach. We have that we know of over 27,000 veterans in the Woodlands or Montgomery County area alone, and with us only having 386, it's a big field to reach for. And a lot of those people are suffering from post-traumatic stress syndromes. They're hurting financially or physically, and they can't get the help without us helping them. They don't know about all the help that's out there. What we've done is we've gone to the Chamber of Commerce and we've talked to the employers and told them that if they have any veterans working for them that are suffering, either financially, physically, or mentally, just give us their phone number and we will take care of them there. That's what we're in the business for. American Legion was founded back in 1919. Teddy Roosevelt was one of our founders. And what they did was right after World War I, the vets were being treated pretty bad. And they got this group together as a lobbying group in Washington. Right now, our present commander, Commander Helm, has 3 million people behind his lobby for the veterans. He's involved quite heavily with the VA scandal and everything. We're very fortunate in Houston that our VA hospitals are in good shape. Some of them, like Phoenix and all that stuff, they had to be redone. This isn't an instant thing. It didn't happen yesterday. It happened a long time ago. And we're working with them right now. We have 4 pillars in our mission statement. Our first pillar is a strong national security. And we lobby for that quite heavily. We want a strong security so we don't get invaded or taken over. And then our main purpose is taking care of the vets. We need to take care of all of these vets. They deserve it, and they don't need to be ignored. I came back from Vietnam when I saw how they treated our vets back there, and we're getting pretty close to that right now. Another thing is we mentor all the youth. We work with the families of the vets, the children of the vets. We have programs for the children like Boys State and Girls State, where we actually go to the schools and interview children, juniors I should say, and we take them into the Austin, and we let them share with the politicians a week of their time learning how to develop a government. And out of that group throughout the United States, we take one from each state and they go to Washington for another week and they learn how to have Washington. They come back changed people. We have flag etiquettes and all this here stuff. We have many, many programs. Our biggest problem is trying to reach veterans right now to get them to become members of the American Legion.
Let me back up a minute. You've covered a lot, and as I opened, I indicated the American Legion for a lot of folks, and I think there's probably several reasons for that. Veterans of Foreign War, the VFW, that somehow sticks out a little bit. But you mentioned, and I want to make sure I was correct, that American Legion is really open to vets who have been involved in active combat. Is that correct, or how's that defined?
They had to. Their time in the military had to be during the time of an active conflict. They didn't necessarily have to be involved in the action. If they were in the service during the time of the declared conflict, they can become a member of the American Legion.
And the reason for that, I would assume, is so that you have a connected group of people that in turn will help one another. As you mentioned, the vets with PTSD and other maladies or things that resulted or may not have resulted directly from combat. That's
correct. That's exactly what it is.
So if I served during a time, even though I might have not have been quote unquote on the front line, I was connected because I was in the service at that time.
Right.
And hopefully my empathy and sympathy would be that I would want to help, in a sense, real fellow vets that served during that time.
Right. And another thing it gives you, too, is the fact that when you do pass away, we have full military honors for every one of our vets.
Right.
And in fact, Memorial Day is coming up very shortly, and that's one of the things we will be celebrating on Memorial Day.
You mentioned that, and being that the Weekly Business Hour is a business show, and you and I discussed this briefly, and you mentioned it, that you, in effect, are a small business. Yes. Can you kind of take a couple minutes maybe and elaborate on that?
Well, we work as a small business in the fact that we have to be in a 501c19. We have to declare everything we do. We're a nonprofit organization. We get our finances through fundraisers and stuff like that. And we operate with a finance officer. Like any small business, we have people that handle the books, people that do the finances and everything like that. We meet once a month at the community center there on Lake Robbins in the Woodlands. And we have an executive meeting prior to our regular meeting where the executive board sits there and decides, that's the wrong statement, they figure what needs to be done to keep the post in the limelight and keep the veterans informed. We then present that to the members. The members are our controlling factor on any post. The management doesn't manage a thing. We oversee them and make sure they're staying in compliance with the codes and the standards and everything. And all our members are very active in that.
So you basically have a board and you have shareholders or stockholders,
yes,
which are your members that come in. One of the things, again, that interests me is that there are a lot of charities out there, typical standard charities, and you hear about them you see them on TV, radio. And it's amazing to me that there are vets out there, quite a number based on information that you gave me this morning and through my own reading, that still need help, need direction, need access, information, maybe even just a phone number of where to go to get some help, whatever it is they need, financial or otherwise. What do you attribute the fact that the vets still have not been able to connect with the right resources?
Well, having retired out of the military, I know that our veterans don't get notified of all of the benefits that are out here for them. When they leave them out of the military, they turn them loose. I understand it's better today. I understand that they do sit down with a counselor and everything and get them ready for the change. One of the hardest things to do for a vet is to spend 6 months or a year over in Afghanistan, for example, and then be released from the military. When he comes home, it's not the same place he left in his own mind. And that's when he starts suffering from PTSD and that. And we really need to reach these people. If the families know, or anybody, employers know one of their vets is hurting, just give us a call. And I've got the number here. One second.
Sure.
Okay, the contact number, if you need it, is 281-298-2440. We also have a website at alpost305.org. And we're on Facebook, and we're on several social medias. So you can contact us, but it's going to take the whole community to help these veterans. It's not just the post. We need the community's effort to tell us who is suffering, who is not suffering. And once we get that information, we have the procedures, we have the forms, we have the people that can get them into the VA hospital or get them financial help or whatever they want.
Well, I think you obviously have a great business, if you will, that's out there. And again, I'm a little bit amazed that there's so many people who still need help. We're going to take a break here, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you'll stay with us. We're going to come back and talk to Pete a little bit more about his personal background and what prepared him to be in the leadership role he is today. So please stay with us. We'll be right back.
The East Texas Dream Center, conveniently located at 301 South 1st Street, Conroe, Texas 77301, relies solely upon the generosity of those who are led to contribute. We are a Christian organization that houses women and children who are trying to get their lives back after being homeless, abused, or addicted. Your financial contributions are tax deductible. We are recognized by the IRS as a tax-exempt organization under Section 501c3. With faith, hope, education, and a lot of love, we seek to lead individuals towards self-sufficiency so they can become contributing members of society. Your generous gift will help women and children in our community. Please visit our website to find ways to donate or volunteer. Our website is www.easttexasdreamcenter.org. Again, the website is www.easttexasdreamcenter.org. A telephone number where you can reach us is 281-601-6800. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Hi folks, it's your old buddy Luke Clayton, and I want to invite you to join me every Saturday morning right here on Lone Star Internet Radio from 8 to 9 for Outdoors with Luke Clayton and Friends. Bill Dance is a frequent guest. Larry Weisser, Mr. Whitetail, is on the show every week. We talk a lot of hunting and fishing and generally have a good time. So remember, every Saturday morning, 8 to 9, right here on Lone Star Internet Radio.
Hi, this is Erica Tullis, Executive Director of the Breast Cancer Charities of America. The Breast Cancer Charities of America is a national nonprofit organization with our headquarters in the Woodlands, Texas. We focus on non-invasive breast cancer research and helping the true patient that is going through breast cancer. Through our Help Now Fund, we help women pay the rent and utilities while going through their breast cancer treatment. It's unlike any other program that truly is out there. We are here to help the woman. Our phone number is 936-231-8460. For more information or to get involved or to even make a donation, please visit our website, www.igopink.org.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox Advisor, and you're listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and we've been visiting with Pete Koch, Post 305 Commander, the Woodlands American Legion. Pete, I want to thank you for giving us the background on the American Legion. Again, an organization I think that's kind of faded from the consciousness, but obviously has a great work ahead of it, a lot of need out there. One of the things that interests me, though, when someone in your capacity takes over, and as you and I were talking before the show, came in and kind of worked hard to bring the Legion, at least the post here in the Woodlands, back to what it should be, you had a great business background, in my opinion. You've been all over the world. You've done a variety of work. Share some of that with us on what prepared you to do what you're doing now.
Well, when I retired out of the Navy, I retired as a Master Chief. That itself, you were the senior chief on board the ship, so that gave you a role of management right there. And before I even retired, I had a company call and ask me if I wanted to work on the Alaskan Pipeline as their senior quality assurance manager. And I jumped at that with a passion because they were paying pretty good pay in those days. And I stayed in there up on the North Slope, working there for almost 20 years. And then when I retired from the BP and ARCO and everything, I was a consultant to them. I wasn't an employee. I went to working overseas and as a quality assurance manager again. And I finally retired about 6 years ago and gave up the oil field and said I wanted to do something else. I knew I couldn't just sit and do nothing. That's the quickest way to pass away if you ever thought about it. So I started a group of us started a foundation called the Constitution Education Foundation. What we found on that was most people don't understand the Constitution. They'll make statements like that was unconstitutional, but they can't prove it. And this goes to politicians and people themselves. Our schools weren't teaching the Constitution. So we started the foundation, and we got caught up in that IRS scandal where they wouldn't give us our 501c3 number and everything. It took us 2 years to get the number. In the meantime, we had to close the doors because we weren't getting any donations or anything, and the costs were building up. Well, we now have our number, and we're starting back up again. We'll be going through the state somewhere, as we're called, to teach the founding documents to students, to adults, to whoever needs them, including citizenship programs. And in the meantime, then I got tied up with the American Legion. I didn't even know Post 305 existed till about 5 years ago, and I found out we do have a post in the Woodlands. I thought Willis was our closest. So when I went down there, I joined them, and within about 3 weeks, I was the commander. One of those, nobody else wanted the jobs. and then a couple of years ago, about a year ago, I decided that I wasn't doing enough to keep myself active, so I needed to get involved deeper in the community. So I went down to St. Luke's Hospital there in the Woodlands and volunteered 1 day a week of my time. And I work on St. Luke's every Wednesday afternoon. And as a volunteer, I sit at the guest relations desk, and welcome people and all that stuff. And I've learned one thing: all these sick people, all they need to do is see a smile, and it makes their day. So I feel we're doing darn good right now. So I'm pretty well tied up with all my time right now.
Well, that quality assurance background makes you kind of, I'm sure, very good at what you do and being assured of the quality of it. I think that's interesting. What do you think? I mean, you've been involved for 5+ years at the American Legion post there in the Woodlands and served as post commander. As you say, you drew the short straw, as my dad used to say, last man standing. What do you think the secret to success is for that organization to be successful as a local post?
I think the secret to success is to be shown to the community what we're in business for. We have a lot of veterans. If I tell you, like I said, 27,000 veterans in Montgomery County, you multiply that times the number of counties in this country, there's millions of vets out there that don't even know we exist. If they know we exist, they think we're a smoke-filled bar. What we're trying to get the word out, our purpose is, as it was formed in 1919, to make sure that our vets who have given us, sacrificed their lives, their livelihood, and everything to defend our country, that we defend them and make sure they get the needs they need. When you see these people on the street, these homeless people on the street, 9 times out of 10, he's a vet. And the reason he's on the street is he's suffering from something that he doesn't even know he's suffering from. Otherwise, he'd be looking for a job. When you get some of our politicians making a statement like all guns have to be taken away from the vets because they're unstable, that's an insult to a vet. If there's anybody I'd like to have with a gun in his hand to defend this country, it would be another vet. So we've got to bring these people around. So our sole purpose is to help these people, help their families. We have a lot of families that don't understand the benefits that being in the military gave their husbands or their wives. And we have a lot of women vets right now, too. So the latest stuff with all the women in Afghanistan and Iraq and everything like that, they're coming back with the same problems. And we as a post plan on reaching out to every one of them.
Well, that's interesting because it as a business. I mean, like any business, you've got to have a plan. You've got to work the plan. You've got to get your employees, or in your case, your volunteers involved, get them to buy into it and go to work. You've got 27,000, which that number still escapes me. Just the amazing here in Montgomery County. And as you and I talked off air, Harris County, just adjacent to us, has the largest number of post 9/11 vets. I learned recently, because of some work I do, the largest number of post 9/11 vets of any county in the United States. So there are a lot of people that need direction, need help, but also a good base of volunteers for those that are doing well that can help their fellow vets. So I think it's a great opportunity. What about the people that are not vets? I'm talking about Joe Q. Public that's out there that wouldn't qualify for membership in the American Legion. What can they do to help the American Legion?
Well, the best thing they could do is identify anybody in their family or their neighborhood or anything that they think is suffering financially or anything, and we can help those people too. We have, it is not necessary that you're a vet, that we'll help you. We will find some way, if there's somebody out there destitute, some children or some older folks or something like that, and we find out, we find out about it, we will go out and help them as best we can. But it has to be identified to us because we can't look everywhere. We've got, right now on our post, I've got 386 members. I've got 10 officers. But now we've got about 20 committees that we have, which I have committee chairman on. And a lot of them are to help these people. They're identical, like Americanism, Boy State, Girl State, the VA hospital. We have what we call a veteran need coordinator that works strictly with the VA hospital. And he's up there every week trying to find out what the veterans need. And he comes back to us, and then we publicize what they need in the way of hats, clothes, shampoo, anything like that. We gather it up, and once a week we go back to the VA hospitals and share it with these vets. And they really like that.
Well, you're doing a lot of the legwork down. You're getting your hands dirty, making things happen. You're an advocacy group. Obviously, that's probably your most important role, is to advocate and look for people that need help, as you mentioned. But I think advocacy just at the local VA hospital, your presence, I would assume, helps the quality of that hospital be high, or as you said, we're okay. All of us can use work, and in the hospital industry, as I'm a little familiar with, there's always work to do. It's a very complex business, being in the business of healthcare. So it's a very interesting array. I mean, you as a post commander and as a VA local post, you really have a lot of opportunities on a positive side, challenges of the things you do. You do a lot of different things. How do you maintain control over all those different spokes in the wheel that are going around out there?
Well, once a year we have an election, and this is where we elect our officers for the year. We also assign committee chairmen. We analyze, first of all, we go through our books that we had last year, and we see which committees worked and which committees didn't work. And then for the next year, we'll itemize the list that we want to do this year. That person is responsible for that committee. During our monthly meeting, he comes in, he gives a report of what he's done, and he'll ask for help if he needs it. We have, for example, the Americanism Committee covers an awful lot. We have the JROTC program, where we award awards to people that are in the JRTC. This year we awarded 5 awards, scholarships. We have 24 boys we're sending in Boys State up to Austin to learn about our politics and everything like that. Well, we have oratorical contests where we award people scholarships for the oratorical. There's a lot of things we do, and what it is, the way we manage it, as you asked, the way we manage it is the person that we put in charge of that committee has the whole post to drag from if he needs it, but he is responsible ultimately for making sure that something gets done.
Well, I like your concept. You have an annual review. I mean, again, back to your background in quality assurance, but you annually review my work, even though I'm a volunteer, which is fairly aggressive. And I personally, as someone, as I mentioned to you off air, I've been involved in nonprofit for a long time, and I think that's a weakness of some nonprofits. You want to keep all your volunteers happy. I understand that if you're the administrator or the president or whatever, but at the same time, you have to have some kind of accountability, particularly if you're a volunteer-driven organization, which you are. And I admire that very much. Pete, I want to thank you so much for taking time out this morning to join us, to educate us about the American Legion, to tell, I suspect, including myself, a lot of us, that the American Legion's out there with a big, broad mission, working to serve our communities, our vets every day, our young people. I mean, you cover a lot of ground, and I think we need to reach out and support you. If someone wants to learn more about your organization, I know earlier you gave us a phone number and a website. Could you give that to us again?
I sure can. Our phone number is 281-298-2440. And if you want to get us on our website, it's alpost305.org. And those are 2 excellent slots. We even have a newsletter on that thing that we publish once a month. And if you want to contact us, and I would appreciate it if you do, because most veterans think if they join the American Legion, they have to come to a meeting. Well, the way we look at it, as long as you join the American Legion, if you're a young man coming back from Afghanistan or wherever the heck, and you're starting to raise a family, you're starting a job and a business and everything, you're not going to have time to go to the meetings. But you can at least join the American Legion and help by your votes and everything like that, and help with the benefits that we give you. We have some good insurance policies. We have some good discounts at hotels, airlines, and everything like that. You can get advantage of that without coming to the meetings. We would love to see you at the meetings, but if you've got a family to raise or a job to start with, we understand that comes first.
Well, thank you, Pete, again, and I would encourage all the young men, women, not necessarily young of any age, that have service that would qualify them as a member for the American Legion to reach out. And as Pete said, you don't have to go to all the meetings, but to join and become connected and possibly help a fellow vet down the road. We're going to take a break, ladies and gentlemen, and when we come back, I'm going to bring you some news and a few business tips. So please stay with us, and we'll be right back at you.
SPCA PetSnap of Montgomery County is a 501c3, all-volunteer-based rescue and adoption organization with a no-kill policy for healthy and adoptable animals. Our name states what we believe: Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, People eliminate the suffering. Spay, neuter, adopt, please. We rescue abandoned, abused, or homeless animals, do whatever is needed to make them healthy and happy, and then we find them loving forever homes. We envision a county where every companion animal finds a permanent and compassionate home, where communities are enriched by the special bond between people and animals, where cruelty no longer exists, and where every home practices responsible pet ownership. You can contact us at www.spcaofmc.com. The SPCA PetSnap of Montgomery County encourages you to think adoption first.
Put a smile on your face, a warm feeling in your heart, and tune in to the listener-friendly Mark and Cindy Show every weekday morning from 10 to 11 here on irlonestar.com. Do you have anything to add to that, Mark?
Yeah, scratch the listener-friendly part. Goes without saying. We're not going to be unfriendly with listeners because they'll quit listening and we'll be back to emceeing watermelon-tossing galas. I'm not doing that again, Cindy.
Look, when somebody yells duck, you don't look over to see what's coming your way. You duck.
Hey, it's a reflex from martial arts training. Anyway, I'm not doing any more watermelon galas.
Okay, catch us on our archives, YouTube, SoundCloud, and HBO.
Right, HBO. We're on right after the Game of Thrones. Cindy, you are such a storyteller. I'd like to apologize for Cindy. She makes up stuff.
I'm not. Human Body Odor, HBO. It's an experimental new community channel.
The Mark and Cindy Show every weekday at 10 o'clock. Join us here on irlonestar.com. Please.
I'm Andrea Kolsky.
And I'm Heather Hall.
You may have heard of Justice Being Blind.
But what about being blonde?
In our show, Justice is Blonde, we talk about what's going on in Montgomery County at the courthouse behind the scenes.
Hey, Andrea, don't forget about Harris County, too.
And honestly, Heather, nationwide, we cover it all.
Airing every Friday at 11 a.m., you can send in your burning questions to our email, justicesblonde.lonestar@gmail.com.
Or they can look us up on Facebook at Justice is Blonde.
Or they could even call in to the station at 936-647-3776. Although we are discussing the law, we're trying to keep it fun, and we have some awesome guests.
So tune in Friday for some legal fun, laughter, and an hour with the Blantourage.
Hello, Montgomery County. I'm Rachel Baldwin with Special Olympics Texas, Area 6. Are you a fan of courage? Are you a fan of determination? Are you a fan of acceptance, grace, and skill? Then you're already a fan of Special Olympics. Make it official. Volunteer, coach, and/or compete and be a fan of dignity and acceptance. The dedication of our Special Olympics Texas volunteers provides mainstreaming experiences for athletes with intellectual disabilities. You will touch the heart of another person, and it will move you in a meaningful way that lifts the spirit. Please visit the Heart of East Texas Area 6 webpage at www.sotx.org. Also, like us on Facebook to be a fan and be part of Special Olympics Texas.
Good morning. This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox Advisor, and welcome back. We're now at the point in the show where we have a few news items and also some tips. The Silver Fox Advisor I want to share with you. As you know, each week I try to read and keep up with what's going on in business, and I came across an interesting article. It's a national article. It was in the Wall Street Journal entitled Wage Growth Shows Nascent Signs of Breakout. Interesting word, nascent. Compensation pickup, if you don't know that, is crucial to our economy. In other words, we need to have or show signs of rising wages. Now, if you're listening, you're an employer or a manager, you're going to say, well, wait a minute, I don't want to have to give raises. Well, yes, you do want to give raises. You want to be motivated to give raises because that means that the economy's working, and it should mean that your sales and revenue are increasing. And what we're getting now, and I think it's important for all of us, not maybe to drill down in real deep, but to consider the fact that our economy, and this is true, I think, in Montgomery County, in our surrounding counties, maybe not as much as the rest of the country, but it is definitely true, at least from people I talk to and clients I work with. And the fact is that U.S. labor cost accelerated in early 2015. And so that is typically taken as a sign, obviously, that the job market might be tightening, because wages usually go up in response to an inability to find workers. And I know when I drive around our community in Montgomery County and even down in Harris County where I do some work as well, I see a lot of help wanted signs. Obviously, or typically most of those businesses are entry-level positions, but still the help wanted signs are popping up. And those are signs that all of us in business who have employees need to be aware of. As those number of signs go up, it gets harder to hire people, and that's, again, when you typically see wages begin to increase. And so that is around our area. So we need to be alert to that, and primarily, from my perspective and experience, we need to be alert, one, not just in the hiring process of offering a competitive wage, but also what we're paying our existing people. And I think sometimes, small business in particular, we overlook what we're paying our existing employees. We overlook how difficult it is to find good people in general at all times. And thirdly, we overlook the cost of bringing someone in new and training them to our culture, the attitude we expect and need in our company, and secondly, in the skill set. Because the skill set in almost every company is different. No two companies require or need or use the exact same skill set. So there's a little bit of skill training and sometimes a lot. And these all cost you. So the fact that you're aware of what you're paying someone, that they're happy in their job and don't jump ship and go somewhere else is important. One of the other signs that's out there in the economy right now is a number of big companies have announced pay increases. If you pay attention to the news or read the paper, you'll notice that McDonald's talked about raising wages this summer and the roughly 1,500 restaurants it owns out of its chain, even though 90% of its restaurants are franchised home. But we've also seen Walmart make these announcements. Target announced pay raises, as well as Aetna, the insurance company. So there's a lot of rumbling out there of pay raises going on. But at the same time, there's still a significant amount of slack in our economy that's restraining these pay increases. Wages are increasing, but it's gradual. But nobody's really seeing a tremendous boost in revenue. They're not seeing inflation pressures, all the other things that typically bring about wage increases. So my point is, be aware that wages are starting to increase, but at the same time be aware that it is a very gradual pressure and something that if you look into the second half of this year and perhaps into next year, if you do those kind of things around your business, be aware, be listening, if you will, to what's going on right around you, particularly in your industry, so that you don't get caught short when you're trying to hire new people or you lose or keep an existing person. Second business I want to talk about is Taste Fest. That is an event put on by the Conroe Chamber. It's coming up on Thursday, May 14th from 5 to 8 at the Lone Star Convention Center. And first of all, I'd like to encourage you to attend if you're in the Conroe area, to attend that event. But I also want to talk about it. I think Taste Fest is a good example of missed opportunity for so many businesses. This Taste Fest is at what I call a business expo. A lot of business expos out there where businesses have a chance to show off, to show their products and their services. And many small businesses ignore this opportunity, and I think it is a real missed opportunity. Taste Fest is for the restaurant industry. There are 40-some restaurants that will be on the floor. Over 1,000 people typically attend. These are consumers who come and move through the hall and taste a sample of the food from each restaurant, just a sample. But what a great way to pick up new business. If they like what you serve at Taste Fest and you have a sample menu or whatever, or something for them to walk away of, perhaps you've picked up a new customer. It's an easy, inexpensive way to advertise, promote your business. Yet, when I looked at the list of restaurants that are going to be showing at Taste Fest, and again, this is just an example of a business expo, it's all the larger restaurants in the area. The smaller guys, the smaller mom and pop, if I can use that term, they miss this opportunity. Again, it's very affordable, but they obviously don't see the value in trying to put their restaurant in front of 1,000+ people and say, hey, we're here, we're a small business, but we've got some great food. Again, I encourage you, if you have a business expo in your area, it's something you should really take advantage of. Don't let it pass you by. Now, for business tips this week, the first one I would like to talk about, it was a great article I read by Nellie Alcap. It was published in Entrepreneurship Online Business May 3rd of this year, and it was talking about how to survive your first year as a new business owner. And I think Nellie hit on some important points, not just for businesses that are starting out, but any young business, even if you've made it past the first year. And first of all, the statistics that she put in here from the U.S. Bureau of Labor, I thought were telling, because I'll be frank, I've been a little bit misled, and that's the point she's trying to make. She says 75% of the new businesses survive the first year. Well, in the past, I thought it was a much lower number. 69% survive the first 2 years, and 50% make it the first 5 years. And that's important for all of us that have a young business that's 5 years or less old, because in the past, I've heard numbers from people, and these numbers came from the U.S. Bureau of Labor, so they should be somewhat dependable and a good cross-section of businesses. I've always felt that businesses failed at a much higher rate, which in turn puts a lot of pressure on a new business, a young business. She gives some tips on how to survive. The first one, obvious, create a business plan, even if you don't go to the bank. You need some kind of plan. May not be a 100-page document. You've heard me say that before, but you need to determine and make sure you're following the right target market and your business model is working. And when it doesn't, you have something to measure it against and you tweak it. Keep your expenses low. Don't buy things you don't need. Just buy what you need, not what you want. Put the earnings in the early years back into the business. You as the owner may not take a payroll or take a small check in those early years. The business needs reinvestment. Don't make a mistake that hyperactivity, in other words, all this activity you're doing is productive. Make sure you're doing productive things. Too many entrepreneurs burn the candles at both ends, yet only move sideways and not forward. I thought that was a great expression she made. Focus on your customers. That's an obvious one. Everything is about the customer. You need to be attuned to their needs and adapt to what they want. It's not about your awesome product or business. It's all about the consumer or customer. Build a network, know other businesses. I think that's great. And measure and adapt. Measure and adapt your business to the changes that are taking place. And finally, quickly, the SFA Silver Fox Advisor tip of the week. My tip, why small businesses should attack with their strengths. This is one that I think we've missed. And I picked this up from an article written by Jim Blasingame, Growing Your Business, published in Fox Business Online, April 29th of this year. This is something that goes back, and Jim used the story of John Paul Jones. And some of you who know history remember that great Revolutionary battle that took place off the coast of England, and where the Bonham, the Richard ship sank that day, the Bonham Richard. That was John Paul Jones. He was in a much outgunned ship, smaller ship, but he engaged a larger British adversary and ended up winning the battle. And the fact is, and we know the famous expression, when asked to surrender, John Paul Jones said, "I have only yet begun to fight." So a little encouragement there from Mr. Blasingame. But I think the big thing I take away from this, and my encouragement to you, is if you're competing against bigger competitors, and a lot of us are, larger companies with just endless resources and opportunities, you need to figure your niche out if you haven't already done for it, and fight for your niche, such as delivering customization, adding value based on customer expectations, offering technical expertise, and saving customers time. In other words, really drill down to what your customer wants. You really do have true advantages over your bigger competitors because you can be closer to the customer. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate it. We've covered our business tips and news. I encourage you, if you already are not a fan of ours on Facebook, go to the Facebook page for LoneStarInternet.com and like us so you can stay in touch on everything that's going on. We're going to take a short break now, and when we come back, we're going to have Margie Taylor of Taylorized Public Relations on the phone to visit with us about PR.
Hi, folks. It's your old buddy Luke Clayton, and I want to invite you to join me every Saturday morning right here on Lone Star Internet Radio from 8 to 9 for Outdoors with Luke Clayton and Friends. Bill Dance is a frequent guest. Larry Weisser, Mr. Whitetail, is on the show every week. We talk a lot of hunting and fishing and generally have a good time. So remember, every Saturday morning, 8 to 9, right here on Lone Star Internet Radio.
Did you know there are more than 790 abused and neglected children currently in foster care in Montgomery County? Will you help make a difference? I'm Allie Stevens with Casa Child Advocates of Montgomery County. We train and support volunteers to be the voice of children in the foster care system. Kids are removed from their home because of abuse and neglect, and we need volunteers just like you to advocate for these children. To learn more about becoming an advocate, please visit CasaSpeaksForKids.com. That's CasaSpeaksForKids.com.
Looking for a source for Montgomery County's news and events? Then tune in every weekday morning on Mornings with Lone Star at 8 a.m., covering the news, weather, and local off-topics for your morning entertainment. So make Mornings with Lone Star your third stop of the morning at 8 a.m. on irlonestar.com. Our community's animal shelters cannot absorb accidental litters of kittens and puppies. Approximately 80% of the animals entering our shelters will not make it out alive. Please help be a part of the solution. Please spay and neuter your pets. Many low-cost options are available. Visit texaslittercontrol.org to learn more. That's texaslittercontrol.org. And remember, real Texans don't litter. Please spay and neuter your pets.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You've been listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and this is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor. We're down to our final segment today, and I'm glad to say that we have a wonderful expert joining us. Many of you may know her. Margie Taylor of Taylorized Public Relations, or Taylorized PR, I should say, is joining us. Good morning, Margie.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to talk a little bit about public relations. Couldn't think of a better person to do it than with Margie. She's been involved in the public relations communications business for a number of years, primarily in the nonprofit part of our community with some well-known nonprofits, and now on her own with Taylorized PR. So why don't we start out, Margie, big question. What is PR?
PR is public relations and how you are viewed out in the community by others and what they think of you and your business, your image, your reputation. All of that comes into public relations.
And that brings me to the next question, which a lot of times I feel small business people, and I could be included in that group early in my career, miss out on the opportunity of PR. Why do small businesses need to invest in PR?
Well, everything they do is out in the public, and how are you invested in the community is part of PR. Everybody has a story. How did you get into your business? What makes you get up in the morning to go and do what you do that you're good at? That is all public relations, and by connecting with a PR expert, you can pull out that information and tell your story in the community, either through an article, blogs, press releases, social media, whatever it takes to get out your story and increase your business. A lot of times business owners don't have time to do that. So a PR expert can bring out and communicate that message about you to the public.
You know, one of the things I've learned, and partially you've taught me this, and as I worked with PR even in my own businesses, once I got it, that it was really an important thing to do, is that a good PR person's able to target your message to the clients or customers that you need for your business. Isn't that correct?
Absolutely. You have a certain niche of target people you are trying to get out to. So you need to identify who that is and what it is that you want him to hear. So that is also part of a PR professional, is to target a group to your specific message.
Well, you know, one of the things I learned about PR and how I was introduced to it back many years ago when I was involved in business and really didn't get it, but I bumped into an individual who was involved in business and marketing and whatnot, and they were able to educate me in a conversation over a cup of coffee. Is PR is one of the most can be one of the most cost-effective ways to market and advertise your business.
Yes, it is. It really doesn't cost much money. A lot of it is relationships that the PR professional will already have in the community through media, radio, reporters, print, magazines, all of that. So you are using their reputation and their relationship to communicate your message. And a lot of that is done pretty inexpensively. So I really don't understand why somebody wouldn't want to get a good message out about their company publicly and by using a PR professional. It's very much worthwhile. It's also an expense that you can take off for, marketing purposes for your taxes, and it's very beneficial to you to have a positive image out in the public.
Well, I think to respond to your question why somebody wouldn't do it, I oftentimes will find in small business with my clients and meeting other people that they're always very wary of expenses unless it directly relates to the business. In other words, their product or service. And advertising is almost a foreign subject to them that they're a little bit afraid to talk about. And the fact that, in my mind, that PR is probably the most effective advertising. If I had to go dollar for dollar, done right, PR returns more than I believe all other forms of advertising because it's targeted. You can work with pretty much any budget. Of course, the owner's still got to budget money to do the project, but I think if I only had a few $100 a month or whatever the number might be to spend, I would spend, I think, if I had a small local business, I would spend a vast majority of that money on PR. What's your feeling about that?
Well, I agree, of course, because that's what I do. But I also think, it's very cost effective. It's about gaining more relationships in the community. With relationships, that's what's going to get you business. Word of mouth, connecting with the right people, connecting with different groups, organizations. So you're investing in growing your group of people that will know what you do. It's about relationships and communications. That is where the business is pushing towards with PR. And so for a very small amount of money, monthly or a one-time fee or whatever, you can get that message out and work those relationships to better your business and make more profit. That's just how I feel about that. I think it's money well worth spent because doesn't everybody want to increase their business through relationship marketing?
Well, I think you really hit the nail on the head for people to understand, small business people particularly that are not as well educated in marketing, advertising, is that PR is about building relationships. And you and I know that building relationships is really what it's about. Whether you join the chamber, or you join a networking group, or a community group, or you have a lot of folks at church, whatever it is, it's about building relationships. Whether you're a main street business or you have some kind of manufacturing business, whatever, it's all about relationships, and PR just kind of turbocharges that, so to speak, right?
Absolutely. You also need to have an online presence. If you're not doing anything online, you're missing 90% of your potential clients. So what is your online business? And whether you engage in social media or not, your potential clients do. So you need to have you need to do multiple things of online presence, and that's all part of the PR too. What is your message? And it needs to be the same message all the time to that targeted group so that they understand where you're coming from and what you're trying to convey to them and what your story is. The story needs to be significant, and it needs to be about you. It needs to be about your special niche. So the relationships and an online presence are both very important, I believe.
Well, and I think to add one other thing that I feel is important, kind of overlays all of this, is to be consistent. It's not a hit or miss. Yes. You've got to consistently get that message out there if you want to build your business.
Absolutely. Consistent and uniform. Absolutely.
And a PR
and it needs to be simple. It needs to be a simple message. It can be something that you can just convey, a tagline, anything, so that people will remember you.
Well, and I think you just made another great point. You know, we could continue this conversation for another hour or two because Margie really is a professional. And Margie, I really, really appreciate you taking the time to join us by phone today and help us understand much better, particularly, again, our small business, understand the value of PR. And ladies and gentlemen, understand Margie, yes, she's a public relations person, but she also understands it. She's got a deep business career. And I think the points she's made today are important. Hopefully they're helpful to you. Margie, just in case somebody wants to contact you to discuss PR or perhaps has a project, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, they could call me on my phone, or they can send me an email. My phone number is 936-828-6881, and my email is Margie, Margie, at taylorizedpr.com, TAYLORIZED.com. I also have Facebook, Taylorized PR, and a webpage, taylorizedpr.com. Any of those ways. It'll all come to me.
Well,
and I will get back with them right away.
Well, I appreciate that. And again, I appreciate you joining us. And my encouragement to our listeners, if you're not using public relations or you still have questions about it, reach out for a PR professional. Of course, I encourage you to contact Margie, but use public relations to build your business. Relations. It's all about relationships, as Margie said. Thank you for listening to the program today. And I also want to thank to Pete Cook, Post 305 Commander, and Margie Taylor of Taylorized PR for joining us as our guest today. Show sponsor, Silver Fox Advisors, who've been serving Houston businesses as mentors and consultants for over 30 years. Thank you for being part of our team. And ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for joining us this morning, and I hope we've informed and inspired you to build even a greater business. Next week, our guest will be Ruth Wiltz with Children's Books on Wheels. Until next week, keep your dial right where it is on Montgomery County's Community Radio, irlonestar.com, coming to you from the heart of downtown Conroe. And for the best in talk, entertainment, and great country music, always turn to our website at www.irlonestar.com, where you can always keep your eyes on the Lone Star.